Welcome back to Sports Overtime. We've got a couple of very special guests with us in studio. Jeff and Sara Tow spent a good part of the last week trying to swim across Lake Michigan. They did it to raise awareness for a cause very close to their hearts, postpartum depression. First, I want to start off with, why Lake Michigan? Why a swim? I mean, you couldn't think of a more difficult thing to do.
No, I wouldn't disagree with you now after doing it. I guess about a year ago, Sara and I woke up one morning and she looked at me and she said, "How far is it across Lake Michigan?" And I said, "I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 or 50 miles. She says, "We should swim across that." And me, of course, I thought about it for a minute. I said, "All right, let's do it." And then, I think it evolved from there into, what are some things in our lives that we're passionate about, and, how can we kind of use this as an event to kind of, raise some awareness and, connect with people in the community, and that's kind of how it all began.
Well, for people who've, you maybe go try and swim a mile. I know I do a couple laps in the local pool. I need a ledge to hold on to. When you're out in the middle, where you see no land, how do you manage that as you're swimming through these waves and without just kind of getting freaked out, because there's nowhere to go?
Yeah, it really wasn't something that bothered me. I think when you have the support group or the support boats around you and things like that, you have this comfort. They kind of cocoon you in a way, just kind of surround you. And, we've been training enough in the open water that we were getting comfortable with it. So, and we know there's no sharks or anything like that to scare us off. So it became quite comfortable. I think at the nighttime was the more difficult.
How different is open water from, the average YMCA pool or something like that?
I think it's the waves, the current. You're dealing with a lot more. Like we say, it's like weight training when you're out in the open water, because you're fighting against a lot of other things compared to just a flat pool.
But how do you train for something like that?
Yeah, well,
for us, it was actually kind of a two-part process. We started off in the pool, just getting ourselves back into shape. We were competitive swimmers in college, but we had not swam in, oh my gosh, a lot of years.
Yeah, a lot of years.
We were basically out of shape. So it was almost a year ago to the day that we ended up doing it, where we got in the water and I swam a mile. And so we swam for a half hour. We're like, we're thinking, how, in our head, we're like, oh, is there any way we're going to possibly make this? So it was, it was a gradual process. We spent 8 months in the pool training, just so that we'd be strong enough and ready to actually swim outdoors. And then in May, we went outside into a lovely 54-degree water day out in Lake St. Clair on the other side of the state, and that began the outdoor training portion of it all.
Yeah.
All right, so you start this swim and you leave the shore. Is your heart beating a little bit hard at that point, thinking, what have we gotten ourselves into, or are you just motivated to try and do this?
I think for Jeff, it was a really emotional moment. For me, I was just ready to go. I was all pumped up and ready, and I saw the boat out there, and I was like, we're doing this, we're going. And for Jeff, he had quite an emotional feeling about it.
I was surprised, actually. I felt this sort of, all of a sudden, this whole year and everything just kind of hit me all at once, and I just felt this surge, and everything got quiet for me for a minute, and I was just kind of in my own head, and there was actually a couple of cameras in my face at the time, and Sara was right in front of me, and she was talking to me, but I don't 100% know what she said, and then I just know that I kind of centered myself again, and I said, let's go home. In the sense, well, not let's go home that way, let's go home this way, straight across the lake, and then we calmed ourselves and went. But we've swam enough. Before that, we had already done well over 200 miles in the open water, maybe 225, 250. So we were very comfortable out there. So it was home for us in a way.
When did you know it was time to stop?
Gosh, it was. Part of the decision was made for us because we physically were dropping. But for me, it was my kids. I kept thinking about them and where we were physically. I always said I was never going to put myself at the risk where I was going to leave my kids without parents. That wasn't going to be an option. So I think that was something that I could not get them out of my head. And they were just like right there next to me saying, I don't know what, they were really saying anything to me, but I knew that it was time that, as difficult as it was, we had to make that decision.
Yeah, and we were out there and we were kind of hanging off a kayak saying, I can't believe we have to make this decision now, and that, here's where we are, but what's really, like you said, what's the safety of it, Could we have pushed on a few more miles, maybe, but was it safe? You know, when the thermometer says 91.1, you know, you start to say to yourself, well, really, this is not safe. We need to be with our family, and the kids need parents.
Dehydration, you were hallucinating out there?
Yeah, we had some pretty wild hallucinations. I mean, some weird stuff was going on, but you know, when you're alone with your brain for that much time, you know, there's a lot of self-talk, a lot of things going on. It's just a lot of alone time, and but for me, it started in the nighttime, and I was following the boat, and there were lights on the back of the boat, and those lights started going, you know, doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and then it kind of went away. But then as we got near the end, it got worse again, and we were out by Big Salvo Point, and I saw the Mackinac Bridge. You know, you didn't know that was there, did you? You didn't know? Well, I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was. So, you know.
Well, and Sarah, you mentioned kids, and this all kind of started with that postpartum depression after you had the kids. Can you guys talk a little bit about that and why this became such an important cause for you guys to do this superhuman feat?
Sure, absolutely. Well, we actually both suffered from it, and it was something we didn't know we were suffering from. It was a very difficult time in our lives, and you know, I have no mental illness in my family. There was nothing, and there was some really bizarre things that were going on at that time, and I think we were just, you know, for him to come out and really talk about his story, I'm so proud of him, because there's such a tremendous stigma out there about postpartum depression, and you know, there's so many signs and so much misinformation out there. I think what we were really trying to do is say, okay, we want to raise awareness of this. Let's pay attention to this. Let's have the conversation. You know, there's a lot of, like I said, misinformation, and we're really trying to get the right information out there so people can get the right help. This is preventable. People can get the right help. So we just are trying to spread that word and say it's okay.
And if they want to know more about Through the Blue, how do they find that?
Absolutely. Throughtheblue.org or our Facebook page, facebook.com/throughtheblue. And then there's all the other contact information to reach us by phone or email directly. And, you know, we'd love to talk to people.